Hello, my name is Alex Gonzalez. Today I'll be presenting my GIS 909 project called Finding the Tongva. Now, this project is especially important to me because I'll be talking about my tribe, the Tongva, including its history and what I've done to help acknowledge the contributions of my tribe in Southern California. The Tongva were Southern California's first people. It is believed that they first settled in the region thousands of years ago. Now, the Tongva had a territory that included modern-day Los Angeles County, the northern section of Orange County, and the Channel Islands off the west coast. The Tongva had about 100 villages spread throughout their territory. Each village has about 100 or 50 to 100 individuals in each village. The Tongva were the most dominant people within the region due to their extensive trade network and their material culture. Their material culture centered around a spiritual balance between the ecosystem and human interaction, which allowed them to thrive throughout their time. History changed for the Tongva when the Spanish came into California. In the 18th century, Spanish colonists, along with Spanish missionaries, came to California to construct missions, which were churches that would be the center point of converting local people, such as the Tongva, to Christianity. Therefore, it would make the takeover of California much easier and more successful. After being forced into servitude, the Tongva rebelled against the Spanish occupation. This resulted in a decade of conflict. At the end, the Tongva were either forced off their land into more secluded areas or were forced into a peasant servant class working in both the missions such as San Gabriel or in many of the ranches created by the Spanish colonists. Gradually over time, the Tongva's history and beliefs were intentionally being erased by the occupation. Over the last 2 centuries, California changed ownership from the Spanish government to the Mexican government, then finally to the U.S. government in the mid-19th century during the Mexican-American War. During this time, the Tongva were working in the many ranches that were constructed by both the Spanish and the Mexican governments. However, when the United States had taken over California, the Tongva eventually lost what little land that they had left. In addition, they have lost their sovereignty due to the 1946 Truman Assimilation Act and the 1950 Congress action, which took away tribal sovereignty, thus forced a conversion of the Tongva to lifestyle of the United States. Despite the intentional erasure of the Tongva's history, there are still many facilities that I had found that still protect and preserve Tongva history and culture spread throughout Los Angeles County. It is the goal of this project to not only place all these facilities on a map, but also create a web application with an easy-to-understand user interface that will allow the public to edit their own maps however they like in order to create more interest in Tongva history. Another goal of this project, which I had accomplished, was creating 5 new feature layers. These feature layers would include museums which would hold exhibitions about the Tongva history and culture, community centers that are run by volunteers to teach the public about history and lore of the Tongva, artwork that has been inspired by the Tongva's beliefs and culture, monuments that are dedicated to the Tongva history, and parks also dedicated to the Tongva and are near several trails created by the Tongva. These features are important because it allows the user to differentiate which type of facility they want to go to for their trip. I began this process by first creating a brand new KML file with the Google Earth program. With it, I was able to map out each of the addresses of each facility and be able to get their latitude and longitude coordinates into the file. Once the file was completed, I had then transferred the file as a CSV file into ArcGIS Pro. From there, I was able to place a CSV file and use display XY coordinates to convert the latitude and longitude coordinates of these facilities onto XY coordinates into the map. Once I have this new feature layer, I was able to edit the attribute table by creating a new field called type, which would create 5 new categories such as parks, museums, community centers, art, and monuments. These 5 categories would separate each of the facilities into the categories to create 5 new feature layers. I did this by using the function data export to create 5 new feature layers by using the select by attribute table to select each of the 5 categories by the type field. Afterwards, I had added 2 more fields called URL, which contains a uniform resource locator, which has URL for each facility, and the summary field, which contains a short explanation of why each of these facilities are important and how they are related to the Tongva. In addition to these 5 new fields, I have also added Los Angeles County feature layer, which holds the county boundary of Los Angeles, which in comparison to the location of the facilities, the Tongva community sites, which are all the mapped Tongva villages, and the land grants, which shows Spanish and Mexican ranches in comparison to the Los Angeles County boundary. Once this new map was created, I shared it as a hosted feature layer in a map to be placed into ArcGIS Online as a web app. The results of my research have shown that there are about 74 Tongva villages that had been mapped throughout Los Angeles County, with a few of them outside of the boundary of the county boundary. I've noticed that there are 27 of these villages are located either on the islands or the coastlines, and another cluster are located near the San Gabriel mission in this location. As for facilities, I have found that there are 7 museums, 13 parks, 7 monuments, 7 artworks, and 9 community centers, each of them dedicated to teaching the public about the Tongva and are available to the public. Now, with this web application, I've added 5 widgets, including the draw, base map gallery, print, directions, and bookmark. Now I will show you these widgets and how they work. here we have the map created. As you can see, the user can turn off and on all the feature layers that they want. For this presentation, I will keep early Los Angeles survey off. Now, we can also see all the symbols and what they mean, helping to differentiate what each of these feature layers are and how they relate. Each of these feature layers also include a name, summary, and URL, and the type of them to see. Now, for the widgets, there are a few that I added. One such, first off, the Bookmark widget will allow the user to save areas that they have interest as based off the scale of the map. Next is the Directions widget, which will allow the user to find the direction from their current location to the location of their choice, be able to determine driving time, walking time, along with the distance for driving and walking. Next is the Base Map Gallery, which will allow the user to edit the map to their needs, such as if a person wants a more visually accurate map, they can go for the imagery map. And if they want something more practical for navigation, they can go for the navigation-based map. Next is the Draw widget, which will allow the user to add symbols and labels to whichever area of the map they want. And finally, what I really like is the Print widget, which will allow the user to print the map after they have edited it. This feature will allow user to use the map in areas when internet is not available, or they want to have more perception while on site and have more spatial awareness when traveling. Each of these widgets have been catered to allow the user to interact with the map and to edit it to whichever specification they want and fulfill their wants and needs. Now, this project is important because it's part of the overall effort to teach the public about the Tongva while preserving the values and culture of the tribe. Yeah. This map shows all the effort and dedication of people such as Sandy Rodriguez, who created artwork such as Borderlands based off of traditional Tongva pigments and mats. She and other people help to protect and preserve the Tongva culture and help to teach the people about why this history is important, because history shows how life was like in the past and how we got to today from the beginning. Before we end this presentation, I would like to acknowledge the effort of some of these people, such as Desiree Martinez from the Cogstone Company, which is a cultural resource management company which helps preserve world heritage while working with urbanization efforts. I would also like to thank the user Composa S17 for his work of mapping several Tongva villages based off of old documents. If there are any questions, I hope you enjoyed this presentation and hope we all learned something new and valuable. If there are any more, want to learn more about the Tongva, you can look through some of these other sources that I have right here. Thank you.